Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Appointment of a timekeeper.
Had Andy as the timekeeper this week.
Andy, are you able to be the timekeeper?
Yeah, sure, count me in.
Okay.
All right. Public appearances on non-agenda items.
Nobody here.
I don't think there are any, but do we want to do a quick
Maybe
introduction with
we
Diana?
can just go around and Diana, maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you wanted to be the newest RCC commissioner.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Well, I am actually working at Focus on Energy right now. I'm a bilingual project coordinator. I reach out to the community a lot, and I do live in Fitchburg as well. So I was very interested in knowing a little bit more about what is the commission doing when it comes to also conservation of resources and energy efficiency, obviously. So that's why I am here, and I love to be part of this commission. Yeah, I don't know. I have a master in environmental conservation and a master in law. I am originally from Peru, but I've been living here for about 7 years. And my husband is from Stoughton. And yeah, and I'm here to help and support, and I'm excited.
Great. Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, so your official appointment would be tomorrow, is that correct? Okay.
She's on the agenda.
All right.
Yep.
We're
That is correct.
excited to have you. I know that we're going to move pretty quick, so maybe we'll just do very quick introductions right now with folks, and then we'll do maybe a more formal introduction next week. So my name is Chris Jimson. I'm the commissioner of the RCC. I've been on it for a long period of time. Back to 2008 was my first term, and I was off for a short period, but otherwise I've been the chair previously. I was the vice chair leading into it, and then I just started as the chair, my second term as chair back in May. So nice to meet you. I have some nice stories to share with you from Peru, as I spent some time down there last year. So excited about that, and best of luck with your appointment tomorrow. I'll pass it over to Ron.
Hi Diana, I'm Ron French. I'm an aquatic biologist. I've been on the commission this will be my second term. It expires, I think, back in next year in April. So I have my own private consulting business. I do environmental consulting. I'm kind of semi-retired, but enjoy working on this commission and working with all the folks here and the city folks to help, Fitchburg become a more of a, environmentally oriented city, which it is. It's doing a great job just to keep it move it in that direction. And look forward to seeing you next month in person.
Thank you.
Bill, do you want to go quick?
I'm Bill Jetzer. I'm the Alder on the RCC here. I've been on since, I think about a year and a half. I think I came on in 2024 onto this commission. My interests are, I think I would love to have a long chat with you sometime with your focus on energy and your environmental degrees, and et cetera. I'm big into energy efficiency, you know, land use planning to minimize transportation, that sort of thing. So these are things that greatly interest me.
Great. I'm Ben Schulte. So I'm one of the staff contacts for the Resource Conservation Commission, along with Phil Groupie. My role at the city is kind of the environmental engineer role, so that's anything from stormwater management, so reviewing those kind of plans for developments, kind of managing the MS for the municipal separate storm sewer system, stormwater utility, and then anything else related to refuse and recycling. And yeah, with that, Ryan, maybe you want to say a word?
Sure. Hi, my name's Ryan Hutter. Before today, I was the newest member on the commission. I've been on for about 5 months now. So yeah, it's exciting. It's been a lot of fun so far, learning a lot. So, welcome to the commission. Glad to have you.
Very good. Phil, do you want to say hello?
Yes. Sorry, a little lag there. I'm getting unmuted. Phil Groupie, as Ben mentioned, I'm the sustainability specialist for the city. I've been with Fitchburg for about 6 years. A lot of my time is spent on energy data, renewable energy, and bicycling initiatives, and kind of spread out from there. Excited to have you on the RCC for numerous reasons, but one of them is that I also, before I came to Fitchburg, I worked with an energy efficiency company that has been doing focus on energy for 15 years. So be curious to, interested to talk with you about that sometime.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andy Slager. Sorry my video doesn't work on my on my laptop, but I am a full-time land manager with the Prairie Enthusiasts. So I do a lot of on-the-ground restoration, prescribed burning type of work, and restoring native habitats that have, a lot of them have just disappeared since development. But so that's one of my main interests. I went to school for that, UW-Madison, and I've been on the commission for 2+ years, I think. So yeah, it's welcome to the team, and I look forward to your expertise.
So Diana, I think that's everybody that's here. We are missing one Commissioner, Kim. So you wouldn't be coming into a full group of males. There would be one other female on the team, in Kim. So she couldn't make it to tonight's meeting, so she will be happy to meet you at some point as well. So welcome.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody is, man, what's going on?
So yeah, you guys can you can meet her at the next meeting. But you're welcome to stick around and listen in on today's meeting as long as you'd like. I'm glad we're able to do the intro now. But we do have a hard 9 o'clock stop, so I'm gonna keep us moving along, and we look forward to meeting you more at the next meeting. And yeah, just kind of jot down any questions you have. Feel free to reach out to me via email afterwards, and I'm happy to answer anything that you have questions about. With that, I think I'll pass it on to item number 3, which is approval of the minutes. So do I have a motion to approve the September 8th, 2025 RCC minutes?
I make a motion to approve the September 8th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, This meeting it's a long meeting, but it's not quite that long. It says in the meeting minutes that it was called to order at 6:30 a.m.
Oh, no.
Long day.
All right. We'll get
You
that.
don't remember that, Bill?
The whole day was a blur.
I really was. I'll correct that. Thanks for catching it.
All right, any other comments? All those in favor of the September 8th, 2025 RCC meeting minutes with that adjustment being made, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes passed. Moving on to new agenda items. We do have Mike Gilbertson here. Sorry that we're starting a few minutes late, but Mike, we'd like to pass it over to you to get your Winds adaptive management update, please.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm bringing a slideshow up.
Okay. Bringing the slideshow up.
Zoomed in.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that works. We can start from there. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity for joining you tonight. I do have a short, more of a presentation, but really a more casual conversation just to share with you kind of where Yahara Winds is at. Obviously Fitchburg's been a longtime partner in the program, and we appreciate that. And part of this is a check-in with our major partners to give information back as to where we've been and some of the things we've been doing with the resources that Fitchburg has given our program for reducing phosphorus in the watershed. Before I get too far into the short presentation, I just want to extend a thank you to you, Ben. Ben's been a representative for the city of Fitchburg to Yahara Winds on our group committee, which may not sound like but like a whole lot, but really we have 20-some signatories and a lot of attendees to our Winds meetings, and there's really only a handful that really are active and contribute to our program, and Ben is one of those. So thank you, Ben. It's recognized, and we appreciate everything that you've given our program and the support and the ideas, and also some new changes for the city of Fitchburg coming through that I'll talk about here in a little bit. So with that, feel free to stop me along the way and ask any questions. Like I said, it's an informal conversation, but really want to share some information that I think the last time there was anybody talking with the cities and municipalities is trying to get them on board, because of this program and trying to tackle this phosphorus issue and having everybody at the table working together towards this. And this was, over 10, 12 years ago, and I don't think has been any check-ins since. So that's really the goal of today is at this point giving some information back to for that Fitchburg is due. That is definitely a hold. So a little bit of background here. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Just a quick question. What are some of the supporting partners?
Yeah, so our IGA signatories first is the municipalities that have signed on. So that's the city of Fitchburg. That's where they pay into Yahara Winds based on the amount of phosphorus that they're expected to reduce. The supporting partners are a lot of USGS, the supporting partner of us. They lead our monitoring strategies and really doing the data analysis for us. And each December they provide a water year presentation that is a lot of people like to connect to hear. So that's at our December Yahara Winds meeting. It's the third Tuesday of I don't remember the actual date, but so that USGS, Rock River Coalition, they do a lot of volunteer monitoring for us throughout the watershed. Let's see here. So a lot of friends groups, those kind of entities. And there's more. I don't have it in front of me. But that's what we mean by supporting partners. So and I don't know how familiar everybody is with Yahara Winds and what adaptive management is. But really, this is a program intended to address. Really, our drive is focusing on the phosphorus issue and the Madison Lakes and the Yahara chain. And so adaptive management is a program that was developed as an alternative compliance option, really, for entities like the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District and other point sources, and also like the city of Fitchburg and other municipalities in the watershed that are part of this. I'm not even going to get into the TMDL side of it, but we're just going to call it a watershed report and an analysis guide describing this is what needs to be done in the watershed and how much phosphorus needs to be reduced, that through modeling is going to meet water quality standards. So that's the background of this framework, and really what this does is I've worked at Department of Natural Resources for 20 years prior to coming to the district, and heavily focused on the non-point source runoff issue, and along with that, statewide policy implementation, stuff like that. So on a statewide scale, it was been a really inefficient program that it came from to address, to implement programs that are intended to meet water quality standards statewide. So it's refreshing to be working in a smaller watershed area, the 536 square miles of the year watershed, to be able to actually see more change in the watershed. And really what this model is, this adaptive management, is really the program that I think the state is trying to pull ideas out of this. We are a nationally recognized program as well, but I know the state wants to adopt sort of this idea of getting resources in, resources out to farms and as more of an incentive, a carrot type approach to implementing programs than really the state regulatory using a stick and more of the black hat kind of approach. And it's been really effective. So we are a model organization. Federal EPA has been is sharing our program with other states. Other states are asking questions on, how does this thing work and how do we adopt something similar. So it's really it's a good program. Like I said, it's refreshing to be able to work in a scale that you can see change and more manageable program, and to have the flexibility in the this engine, like these new ideas that have come out of this program because we have this flexibility. We're not locked into a lot of the the administrative code sort of things. So that's been it's been an interesting program to work in and exciting because of that, a different approach to addressing our runoff issues. So I said, since 2017, Yarra Winds has been in a full implementation mode throughout the watershed. There was a 4-year pilot project about 2012 in there that focused in the 6 Mile Creek watershed up near in Middleton, Wanakee, north of Lake Mendota. And they saw the benefit of that program, and then from there it went full watershed scale. I talked a little bit about who's part of the program. This idea of this watershed plan, there's kind of 3 sources of phosphorus in the watershed. Obviously, we have our point sources like the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District and other treatment plants. We have all the municipalities and the stormwater that comes off. As you know, the municipalities that are a permit for stormwater. So as part of this watershed plan, there's a compliance requirement for municipalities. And so that's what these signatories are. They've signed into this program, and they see the cost effectiveness of joining this program versus implementing practices on their own. And I'll talk a little bit more about the cost effectiveness and bring numbers to show this, because at the start, the last time I think anybody from the WINS was meeting with municipalities, it was the idea of this thing will be cost effective. This is a better approach for municipalities. I'm bringing data to show this is the results of where we're at, and so you can kind of connect to this cost effectiveness of for municipalities and also for point source discharges. For us at the district, if we were to try to achieve compliance on our own, we're looking at a $200-some million upgrade on the plant specific to add additional treatment, which we'll all be paying for. So that adds to this cost effectiveness that we're trying to avoid that expensive construction and pursue phosphorus runoff more cost effectively. And by way of that, it's municipalities paying into WINS along with our point source discharges like the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District. We are a signatory as well, so we pay into the program that we also lead. And then those resources are funneled through our implementing partners like Dane County and some farmer-led groups. And then they work out in the watershed to implement practices on with farm, and it's with farmers primarily has been the focus so far, but we'll be changing that in a little bit here too. So that's kind of the makeup of how this works. You know, we pool resources from municipalities and IGA signatories, and then we take those resources out to the watershed and work with farmers like you see here to implement practices and so where are we at? So 2024, these are the most recent numbers we have, and it's kind of like, well, why are we looking at last year's numbers? Well, we don't have this year's numbers in yet. There's, you know, they're harvesting and all that, so we're always reporting kind of the previous year. You know, currently we just almost 60,000 pounds of reduction, modeled reduction. Currently, this is 12% exceedance over what was planned for us. So if you look in our annual reports and stuff, the 20-year schedule for us kind of shows this ramp up of reductions needed, so it allows time to work in the watershed and build. And so as each year it becomes harder and harder and harder to get to meet our annual reduction goals. And so actually where we're at right now exceeds 2025. Assuming all the practices stay in place for next year, we're looking good for there too. So that's one measuring stick for us to see that we're meeting the goals of the program, and it's showing that, you know, implementation is going on, and it's increasing, and there's some exciting things going on throughout the watershed that I'd be happy to touch on too. And that's really that third bullet there, expanding conservation practices and lower reaches of the watershed. The key there is that, you know, with our early pilot project up in the upper part of the watershed, that's kind of been where this whole thing started. So we have most of our implementation going on in the upper watershed, and we really need to start seeing expansions into other reaches. And so this is where we're really seeing a lot of growth down in that Stoughton, Reach 69, that area. Banfish Creek is in there. You know, so that's where we're seeing a lot of new practices coming in, new farmers signing on, so that we're seeing some really exciting things down there, along with other reaches that are continuing to grow as well. So, it's good news. You know, we're meeting the goals that we have each year. The challenge for us, and I'll close with that towards the end here, is what are we doing to stay ahead of the game?
So just to be clear, where it says exceeds 2024 goals, that means it did better than the 2024 goal. We didn't have the amount of phosphorus we released did not exceed what we had set for a goal, right?
The reductions exceeded the reduction goals assigned to us for 2024. Good point. Sorry for that. Yeah.
So I just have a question. So like, just to kind of like take it down to the really microscopic level. I know we're at big picture, but like, you know, a farm or, you know, group of farmers signs on, like, what types of practices are they implementing at their farm to reduce the phosphorus levels that might be getting into the watersheds, just so people understand it from that level.
The big one is cover crops, and so there's a lot of cover crops going in. That's by far and away the majority of where we're seeing our phosphorus reduction. So the idea is with that is, you know, after they've harvested, they'll go in late summer, early fall, and plant they'll seed with, you know, their cover crop, and so it gives it time to come up, and you know, they're also working with other programs to come up with the right cover crop, you know, and what works best and when to plant, and to ensure they have the time to get that in place. And the idea there is to have that root in the ground to intercept anything that would be, you know, infiltrating. So, I mean, it does protect groundwater, but more importantly for us and our goals is that it armors the soil, it binds the soil with the roots. Also, that leaf cover limits the amount of raindrops that just hit that soil and splash and create that disturbed soil that causes the runoff. And then on top of that, it's also soil health in general. So as they terminate that cover crop, that organic material breaks down, it builds into the soil, it creates better soil. So that's all part of the cover crop. You know, that's another.
So if they sign on to Yahara Winds, does Yahara Winds kind of help with recommending the cover crops, or do you help with financially in any way?
Yeah, so how this would work is the resources that would come in from the city of Fitchburg and other municipalities, we pool those resources to about $1.5 million a year. That's kind of our budget that we work in. And then we have key implementing partners that we have agreements with. So like the Dane County Land Conservation Department is one of our major implementing partners that obviously works in Dane County, but which is a lot of the watershed. So they're, I said, one of our major implementing partners. And so then they go out and they find farmers that want to implement these types of practices. Another major implementing partner for us is a farmer-led group, kind of headquartered up in the upper part of the watershed, Wanakee area. You heard Pride Farms. I don't know if you've heard of them. No. But that's a group of farmers that's leading similar practices being implemented. So they have a network of right now about 80 farmers that they're a lot of cover crops are going in through them. So we have agreements with the Yahara Pride Farms. We give them money each year, and then they go and work with their network of farmers, and then they go in and install, and then that cover crop, and then the next year they, with modeling and Snap Plus and other things, they can calculate based on the use of those cover crops how much through the model phosphorus was saved in runoff. So that's really how that works. And it's not only cover crops. There's other practices too. A lot of grass waterways, for example, cropland practices, reduced tillage practices, minimizing disturbance.
If they have the cover crop, are they tilling that in the spring, or is it like an annual, so it just dies over the winter and they can just plant directly in there?
A lot of them can plant right into it, all depending on what their cover crop is and what equipment they have. So that's another thing. Planting green is kind of the name for going right into the existing grass or whatever that cover crop might be, and then they can plant right in there. And they have equipment within their planters that actually just cut through, and so that kind of terminates it. That it cuts basically the cover crop.
So they're not like, they don't have to douse their fields with Roundup every spring in order to kill their cover crop.
No, but there's some that do, because then if they don't terminate it, depending on what crop is going into it, they might get competition from that cover crop to what they're trying to plant. So, there is a little bit of that, and they'll do that. And the other, protection of that is really in the spring. So they get that established, it lasts throughout the winter, and then in the spring is where the benefit of that cover crop really is experienced, is those spring rains and stuff. And so after that gets through, things have time to settle down, then they'll go in and terminate that cover. They don't want to take it off, like I said, because of the organic material that it provides. Right. Because they benefit in improving their soil health.
It's a green manure.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And like I said, there is some, Roundup or some, chemical like that would be used to terminate it. I said, so they're not impacting, the crop that they're trying to maximize. And so there's a little bit of both going on. They might use a Roundup type thing, or they might use an equipment that cuts through and breaks off that stem and kind of terminates it that way. And like I said, cover crops are the most popular, most common. The science behind it. So we don't really provide I think one of the questions like, how does WINS get involved with that? We don't really tell them what cover crops. I mean, they have demo farms and other UW's professors that are studying this and experiencing, okay, what is the best cover crop that works for us here? And so that's where that science comes in. And then, farmers like the First Sets here, they're also trying out other ones too. So we have a contact at Dane County who's works directly with the Biological Farming Friends. So it's another farmer-led group down in the southern watershed, and they've come up with some pretty cool ideas too. So they're trying out new types of covers that certain covers won't work if you're planting certain crops like before or after it. And so they're trying to figure out what are the cover crops that work best for what they're going to do. So they tried out some new things this year, and
so whatever follows corn may not be good to follow soybeans or whatever.
Right. Yep. And then also timing of the crop. So when is it? And they have to also play into when do they have to get their cover crop into the ground so it can have time to establish, so that's there to protect in the spring. And so without too much time on it, like there's a lot of cool things going on. Really out of it's that's why they're called farmer led. They come up with the ideas, and it works for them, and that's been a huge benefit for us is being able to support them, and really these resources for them. It's alleviating that risk of converting their acreage from, implementing more of these soil health type practices. That's taking that risk away, because it takes time to establish this in their programs. And so that's the benefit of the cost sharing for them. People like them, they're going above and beyond the resources we give them, and they're implementing more acres and more acres out of their own pocket, because they see the value of it. It saves their soil, it's better soil, retains more water. So we have heavy rains, they can soak that water in, and then if we have a drought, that water's still there versus running off and other things. So that's the soil health story behind cover crops and other things. And there's other practices too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just helpful for everybody to just
kind of see
those that are listening in, just understand kind of what's happening at the very base level with this. I just had one follow-up question.
Sure.
I think you kind of answered this on the phosphorus. Is that number, the reduction, kind of solely from a model, or is that also combining and looking at like water results and phosphorus levels within the water?
It's really modeled. It's a model number. And so the risk there is like making sure that the inputs are honest and the model is actually being done appropriately. And so that's been having Dane County, who's one of the leaders in the state, that are in the way they do things and the modeling. So we lean on them quite a bit to ensure that the modeling is done appropriately and accurately and not just making things up. And so one of the main models that is used for calculating reductions actually was developed out of UW-Madison. I don't know if you're familiar with SNAP Plus. It's basically a nutrient management planning software. And it's a real easy way for farms to put all their acres in, what do they want to grow, types of inputs and stuff like that. And then it really comes down to then calculating what they estimate as phosphorus loss and runoff and soil loss and all that. And so that's the primary model. Of course, like Dane County also installs other practices too, like manure storage and more structural type practices, barnyard runoff, and feed storage, those types of things. There's practices to collect all that, and so there's other models that they utilize for those as well. So that's pretty much how that number comes about. In each year, that's an accumulation of the model results. So it's not really based on water quality so much, but the monitoring that we're doing, we're tracking that in-stream phosphorus concentration and seeing trends as well. So there's that aspect of monitoring it, but
so
really
just supporting it in the water quality data that you are collecting.
And in the watershed plan that was developed for this program, really they are estimating those reductions and using the same models that we're using to calculate now. This universal soil loss equation is the name of that. And so we're using the same models that were used to really develop how much reductions are needed in this. And it gets complicated with this watershed plan, but yes, it is model based as to how we calculate the reductions. But it's also monitored in stream to track phosphorus reductions throughout.
I guess maybe take a step back. Where's all this phosphorus? What is the ultimate source for that? There's a lot is it the plant matter, like leaves in the fall? Is it
some of it?
Is it farm? Is it like corn stalks and
it's
straw?
It could be it's nutrients, so fertilizer that goes on the ground. Yeah. So if there's no, depending on how that's being applied, if it's reckless applications of or over applications of manure or nutrients, and then there's no runoff control practices like cover crops and stuff. That's where a lot of those sources come from. And a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with was done decades ago. So the lakes, a lot of phosphorus that's in the lakes, has been there for years.
Right. What is the half-life of the phosphorus in the lake?
That's beyond me. You might have talked to Ron about this one.
If we completely magically cut out phosphorus, how long would it continue to be a problem?
It'd still be a problem for a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the challenge.
10, 20, 50 years.
Okay, decades,
decades.
Yep. But, the plus side is that, Dane County has been really active up in the upper parts of the watershed they look at it as that's kind of the headwaters, right? So if we can shut off the source of it, and that's where maybe you've heard of like suck the muck programs. Like Dane County is dredging out streams, like mechanically removing high phosphorus sediment in stream, it's typically not allowed and it's really unheard of. But because they can show they've done so much implementation in the upper part of the watershed, to accelerate the recovery, physically removing that phosphorus was ultimately approved, and that's why Suck the Muck and that Dane County program for dredging was able to actually go, because they can show they've done the work up in the headlands to shut off the tap or the source per se. So I think we can move on here. So this is kind of getting into what does it mean for the city of Fitchburg. So over these years since 2016, what's kind of the numbers behind Fitchburg's contributions to the program, and how much reductions have occurred through the areas that Fitchburg is connected to in the watershed. So if you look at that first column there, TMDL reaches, those are numbered reaches on the right in that picture. So each sub-watershed of the entire watershed there is numbered. You can kind of see where Fitchburg is there in the middle and the west side of that, reach 65. So that's defining the area that boundaries of Fitchburg touches. And so through modeling in this watershed report, they've identified like these are the areas that ultimately runoff is contributing to these reaches from the city of Fitchburg, is really what that means, And so what I've tried to do here is show the amount of reductions that have occurred in those reaches that city of Fitchburg technically touches. And so, since 2016, the city of Fitchburg's paid in about a little over $1 million. And that's, of our contributing municipalities, that's city of Fitchburg has been one of the higher paying municipalities, one because of the size of Fitchburg. And so just recognizing that each year the city's calculated amount based on the pounds of phosphorus that were in this watershed report that they technically were having to reduce works out at about $50 per pound, and then times the number of pounds that the study says that the city of Fitchburg has to reduce, that's multiplied by $50 per pound. And so it works out that the city of Fitchburg was on the hook for $105,000 a year to pay to Yahara Winds. And then we take those resources and we work in the watershed to find reductions, as we just talked about. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So for the last about 10 years or so, the city's been paying in each year. Throughout all those four reaches, there's been a reduction of about just over 46,000 pounds. And the majority of that comes from the larger reach up at the very north, the reach 64, where most of our reductions come from. But I want to recognize that the city is in the middle of several reaches, and so the number of reductions that the city is associated with is significant. And then the implementation cost, what I'm showing there is the cost of all the practices over the years that has led to the 46,000 pounds. And so what I'm trying to show with these numbers is keeping in mind the cost effectiveness. Remember, as I said earlier, the last time representatives from the district, Yahara Winds was meeting with the cities, was getting them to agree to join the program, convincing them that this is the right move for the city for a cost-effective approach to meeting the demand or meeting your phosphorus reductions. And so that's what I'm trying to show with this slide and then also the next slide. And so basically what this is showing is that the implementation cost is way more than what the city has paid in. And don't get me wrong, $1 million is a lot of money, and we appreciate what the city has given the program, just recognizing the type of how much implementation has actually been occurring there. And so $24 million is a lot of money in implementation. Covered crops really aren't that expensive. What really drives this number up to that is a lot of the structural practices that Dane County has been implementing, manure storages and stuff like that. So when you get into those that are getting into $500,000 to $1 million each, you can see how this number goes up pretty quick. So that's really how much the cost of implementation that's occurred over the last 10 years throughout those four reaches that has led to about 46,000 pounds of reduction. And so getting to some of the practices that were implemented to your question prior, cover crops and filter strips and diversions and all these other things that are intended to keep runoff where it's supposed to be and not actually in our streams and lakes and stuff. So I just want to put that there as kind of, you know, numbers that the city has paid into WINS and the reductions associated overall through everybody else as well that's paid into WINS in these reaches that Fitchburg is associated with. And so again, like I said, another slide here to really frame the cost effectiveness of the program. So these are 3 different compliance options, and you know, keeping in mind that Yahara WINS is about collaboration and all the sources working together to achieve the total reduction goals of about 100,000 pounds in the watershed. That's what the watershed plan says, is that through modeling, if we can reduce 100,000 pounds in the runoff in the watershed, that's supposed to meet water quality standards. And so that's the number we're shooting for. So this slide, what I'm just trying to do is break down the different compliance options for the different sources. Starting in that first column there, that's really specific to the district, the Madison Metropolitan Sewage District, and just to keep in mind the costs associated with it. So if we didn't have Yahara WINS and adaptive management, this alternative compliance option, if we were on the hook to meet the amount of reduction that we needed, you know, that's like, you know, just over $200 million just to build the additional treatment at the plant, and then additional $5 million a year in running it. And really what that means is that you have effluent with most of the phosphorus, you know, out of the system, and it's just going down Bagfish Creek. It's not part of the entire system. It's not going to the Madison Lakes. And so if we chose to do that, we're missing an opportunity to be a part of the collective solution working on the Madison Lakes. So keeping that in mind as well, it not only is expensive, there's not a lot of people that get to experience the benefit of that. And when you consider that the entire watershed's paying into the district services, it didn't make sense to then build a lot of expensive storage or treatment and then sending it down to Badfish.
So what, like, just ballpark, how much of the phosphorus actually goes through MMSD versus is out in a rural area and just, you know, soaks into the ground or reaches a creek? You know,
like the breakdown between point source.
Is it like 50-50?
There's like 3 sources. There's stormwater sources, so municipalities, MS4s.
Sure.
And then you have point sources like the treatment plant, and then non-point, so like agriculture, stuff like that. I believe the numbers is about 50% comes through the modeling. This is me coming up with the numbers. This is through the modeling that with the amount of agriculture in the watershed, about half of the total source comes from agricultural sources or non-point sources.
Okay, so we could spend $200 million if we scrapped Yahara WINS, and we would at best be addressing half the problem.
Not even half. We'd be addressing, what is it, I think 30% comes from point sources. And on top of this, if you look at the numbers, so raw sewage comes in the treatment plant at about 6 milligrams phosphorus within it. And the existing treatment right now takes it down to, I think it's like 0.3 milligrams per liter. So we're already removing 95% of the phosphorus out of the waste stream with current treatment. So if we were to spend over $200 million to get down to meet the 0.075 milligrams per liter, we're talking a lot of money to remove a very small amount of phosphorus. And so that's the inefficiency of this approach if we decided to do this on our own.
Yeah, and then none of the rural areas would be participated. They would just go do whatever they want, right?
Right, non-point, we wouldn't really have that connection to the farmers and working with them in the watershed. Because if you look at the map of the watershed, there's a lot of urban areas right around the lakes, right? And then around that, it's a lot of agriculture. So, and in fact, that land use, how that is set up, really works perfect for a program like adaptive management. You know, having these programs and then having agriculture right there, that everybody working together. So, good question to see that breakdown of the sources there. So that's the inefficiency of if we were to pursue compliance at the district on our own. And on top of that, the city of Fitchburg would be on their own and that's my next point here. So if you go to that second column there, MS4 practices, and these are numbers specific to the city of Fitchburg. And so the phosphorus reduction goal for the city of Fitchburg, you can see I have 2 numbers up there. So that 2,141 pounds, that was the original number that came out of the watershed report that set reduction numbers. And that's where he came up with $105,000 per year that the city pays into heroines. It's 2,141 pounds times about $50 per pound. And that's how we get to this $105,000 contribution that Fitchburg pays each year. And so I'll just leave it at that number. And so then, and so what that works out to is about if the city of Fitchburg decided we're going to pursue compliance on our own, we're not going to work any heroines, we're not going to pay into heroines, we're going to do this on our own. And you can speak to this really well, right?
Yeah. So that number, I think some of these numbers with the cost for wet pond, bioretention, and ground storage, when we were going through our TMDL effort to kind of get that revised, one of the pieces was that we wanted to look at 10 new or retrofit BMPs, right? What are 10 things the city can do now or in the future to reduce phosphorus? And we wanted to target, okay, obviously where are we gonna get the most bang for the buck? And Fitchburg's at a point where there's not necessarily a lot of just city-owned land being unused. So in some instances, you may be purchasing land. And what we found is it's incredibly expensive to reduce phosphorus with kind of your traditional wet ponds, biofiltration, and those types of practices. And a lot of that is just because a parking lot doesn't necessarily have a very high concentration of phosphorus in it. So a lot of the urban land uses, it's not going to have the same concentration of phosphorus in the runoff than a freshly fertilized farm may have. So it's very difficult to capture that phosphorus in a pretty effective or cost-effective way. So, and the city of Fitchburg's had multiple different consultants over the past, 10, 12 years, basically kind of going through similar efforts. Well, what BMPs can we come up with? And, a lot of them that were recommended many years ago have been implemented. So things like the Apache Pond up near Dunn's Marsh on Crescent Road, or the Red Arrow Pond. So been kind of over the years going through the list of all the BMPs that have been kind of recommended and crossing out the ones that make the most sense. And it's just, yeah, exactly. It's at a point where, you're getting so much more value per dollar by, trying to get that phosphorus reduction elsewhere, in an agricultural setting. It's really quite shocking how much more phosphorus reduction you can get for the dollar in an agricultural setting.
Yeah, and so these numbers actually come out of the City of Fitchburg's report because that gets into kind of that first cell there with two numbers where it goes from 2141 to 682. I just want to point out that that's the reason this is reduced is the City of Fitchburg has done a lot of the work to, over the years build their own treatment. And so because of that work and remodeling and showing how much reductions comes from the additional treatment that the city has invested in on their own. So now that number that was based at 2,000 pounds, that translates to $105,000 a year that the city pays to get heroines. Now that number's been reduced to 682 pounds, still at $50 per pound, but now instead of 100-some thousand pounds, we're at more like 60,000 pounds, I believe, is something like that, or I forgot how the math worked out with it, but it's almost a 50% reduction in the contribution that the city of Fitchburg is going to pay to the heroines in the years going forward because of work that the city has already done. And that's okay, because this is all part of the reduction equation that we need. So whether you pay it to WINS or you pay yourself, it's still getting to contributing to the solution. So we appreciate that, and we're going to work here to officially change that contribution amount that the city pays here and continue working with Ben to make that. But what I'm trying to show is, if about $30 million is what we'd be talking about if the city decided to go on their own to meet their reduction requirements or compliance with the TMDL, basically. And so then the third column is just really hammering home, you know, what is Yahara Winds and how does it look cost effectively compared to the other compliance options. And as I mentioned, we have it's over 100,000 pounds now, but that's the ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve after 20 years. And we slowly build up to that, increasing the reductions each year. The total project cost, so that $1,700,000, that for the city of Fitchburg, that's basically what it would cost us. That's the cost of the city over 20 years. Is about where it's, and you've already paid in about a little over a little over $1 million. So really, the rest of the way it's going to be based on a lower amount that the adjusted amount because of the reduced pounds associated with the city. And so that translates to the annual cost down in the third column. For up to this point, the city's been paying $105,000. Now that's going to be down to just over $65,000 paid annually to Winds. And so I hope that sort of frames the cost effectiveness that 12, 15 years ago, when they were trying to get municipalities to join, it's going to be cost effective for you. Trust us, it's going to work. Well, it is working, you know. You know, you can hopefully that's the point of what I'm trying to share with you there. So, any questions about these numbers or anything? Okay, yeah, go to the next slide. And so just this is my last slide here. I just want to, so I've talked about kind of where we are, how much reductions we've achieved. You know, we're meeting our goals. We're ahead of the schedule. We're about, like I said, we're just almost 60,000 pounds of phosphorus. And then, you know, I've also talked about, you know, the number specific to Fitchburg. And so now I just want to close with some information of where we're going, because it's one thing to say what we've done and, you know, what we've done with the resources that our IGA members like Fitchburg has given to the program. We also have to plan to stay on track going forward. And I know Fitchburg's gonna be a part of this going forward as well. We've already been working with Ben and others about watershed projects that we're gonna revisit here in the next few years. So, you know, going forward for us, we're going to continue working with the USGS and reviewing our monitoring and making sure that we have our monitoring stations located in the appropriate places to collect the data we need to really have the appropriate data set to measure what difference are we making. So that's always something we want to is review our monitoring strategy. Increasing program resiliency. What I mean by that is we need to find other ways to achieve reductions. So right now we work with Dane County, we work with farmer-led groups. We also have our own MetroGrow program within. So we're injecting our MetroGrow product biosolids on ag land using low disturbance implements. And so we haven't taken credit for that. And that's low disturbance injection of nutrients is a practice that our partners have modeled those reductions for. And so that's an example of other things we're trying to include in our portfolio per se. And on top of that, so we're also, up to this point, we've focused exclusively on ag practices. But we understand that there's only so much ag land out there. And so what we want to know is how much ag land remains and how much opportunity remains to pursue ag practices for achieving phosphorus. Should we still focus on ag practices exclusively, or do we need to start shifting and looking for other types of projects? And so what we're doing here is working with, basically it's a GIS analysis company out of the UW-Madison as well. And they have the technology through remote sensing and other things to look at the field, each field scale. And they can look to see are cover crops on that field or not, or something else. And so we just approved this project here. So this is actually going to be going on yet this winter. So they're going to do a watershed analysis, identify areas of the watershed that we haven't, where implementation currently isn't happening. And so that can give us areas that we can target future implementation and work with our partners to say, hey, here's some new other landowners that we should approach to see if they want to get in on implementing ag practices as well. And so what we can do with that information is, let's say there's a reach that there's not much ag land remaining. So now, and we haven't achieved our goals, what other way can we get to those phosphorus reductions that we need? And so that's where we're gonna start shifting to other types of watershed type projects. So we worked with, Ben came to us and was looking for assistance in, what's the name of that?
Oh, the Yarmouth Creek.
Yarmouth Creek, yep.
Yep.
And ultimately, at the time, it didn't, the cost effectiveness, we didn't approve that. But we're looking for it to be part of the next phase of 9 Springs Creek and going further. And those are the type of projects that we're gonna be looking for, that we know we have to get in on. And get away from, not get away from ag, but not focus exclusively on ag. And we have to start incorporating more of these watershed type projects. We just don't know what they are yet. And so we'll be soliciting ideas through, from our municipalities. What ideas do you have? Some areas that we can assist and provide some resources to, and that is a big step for us to really relook at what we have in the watershed and find opportunities and have a more targeted approach going forward.
One quick question on the monitoring. Do we get credit for paying for the Swan Creek station?
No, there's no.
So does it considered, because the city contributes to the Swan Creek USGS gauging station, so.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's even, is that one of them that, because a similar question came up in the city of Middleton when I met with them. Similar question, and there's a lot of gauges out there that we don't pay for, that we rely on that data, so that network is out there. But we also pay for a lot of the sampling that goes on, and so with our lab, we're able to contribute in other ways.
I mean, there's a cost share with USGS, so they pay for part of it, we pay for part of it, so.
Okay. Yeah, and then I guess the last bullet up there was just doing more of this and getting out to our IGA members and our partners to give them the information I'm giving you today, to let them know where the resources are, where they've gone and where they're going, and the outlook for this program. So in closing, I just want to say thank you again, the city of Fitchburg, and of course, Ben, thank you again for your contributions, and I look forward to future work with the program, and I know you're committed to that, so involved in that in itself is much appreciated. So thanks, Ben.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thanks for your time, Mike.
Yep.
Thanks for going over everything. I hope that was helpful to people that were listening online as well. Andy, I imagine you're
Geeking out.
trying to keep us on track here so we don't get shut down, right?
Yeah. Well, my apologies for taking more time than I anticipated, but I hope that's okay, and you're not going to get cut off here when the internet goes out at night.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
have a good one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to agenda item 4B, resolution R13325. So this is continuing our discussion on setting the 2026 solid waste collection rates. I think we had a good discussion about this the last meeting, so I'll let Ben share some updates, and then we'll probably work our way into a vote pretty soon.
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Sure, and then,
Any discussion?
So this is actually exactly what I shared the last time. There weren't any changes from what was previously presented as far as what the proposed rate is. Sorry, just sharing my screen here so everyone can see at
And then
home.
can you kind of like take the 1 minute step back? I know we don't have a lot of time, but just for Diana's purposes, what we're doing here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the point of this resolution is essentially to set the 2026 solid waste collection rates. So that's anyone that receives the curbside collection of their refuse and recycling, as well as the yard waste and brush collection. Basically, the city will charge each property, X number of dollars for that service annually. The city has worked with Pelletary as the city's waste hauler for several years now, so they are still the current waste hauler for the city. The city has a multi-year contract with them that outlines basically the costs for collection for each year of the contract. So each year we have to estimate what the contract costs are going to be, and based on that, so I guess backing up again, that's what this table is. It's kind of the estimated solid waste contract costs. So you can see we've got the costs for refuse, recycling, yard waste, brush, and then just a small amount of dollars for, when we need to get new recycling carts or trash carts or whatever. So that's what that table is. So you can see at the end, total expenses is estimated at just over $1.5 million for 2026.
Ben, why do we break it up in 2 6-month periods? I forgot to ask that the last time.
Oh,
instead of just having 1 year.
You could. It's just because
we're growing quite fast.
We just changed the number of residents. I mean, could you what's the average between those two numbers and make it? Yeah, this is how it was, but it's like, this works.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
And I had another question. So if you look at that unit cost column second from the left, between last year, between 25 and 26, everything went up, 3%.
3.5%. Yep.
But the total increase that you're going to get to is only like 1.5% or something.
1.7, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, and we didn't apply a whole lot of fund balance. So what's the disconnect there?
Yes. So the biggest thing that basically allows the city to not go up by 3.5% is, the fund balance has been extremely healthy.
But we're only applying like $11,000 or something, right? I mean, that's almost nothing.
That's what it's been kind of shown as in the past. Part of that is because the interest on temporary investments have been so much more than what has been adopted in the budget. So you can see, 2020, 21, very modest amounts here. And then in the last couple of years, it's gone up quite dramatically. So we don't want to count on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we put in more of a modest amount, but having that extra $40,000, really does make a big difference. Because if you rate, let's say there's 6,500 homes. Each dollar you raise the solid waste charge is 6,500. So 40,000 actually kind of is a lot from that perspective. So that's kind of one of the big reasons we're able to not go up 3.5%. And then the other piece of that is there are other costs. For example, wages, things like uniforms, equipment, some of these other columns that just really didn't go up at all.
Okay.
So that also kind of drops the overall percentage down.
So when we talk about the number of units, that's just single family homes, or is it?
It's anything 4 units or less?
Yeah, 4 units or less. So if you're in a duplex, that's 2 units.
Okay.
And any kind of multifamily is not.
Anything bigger than that, they got to contract themselves.
So like these big, huge apartment complexes around here, they have a separate contract.
Yep,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the challenges with doing our outreach is that, we're working with Pelletary on all these.
Right.
Where considered single family, but when we get into the multifamily, there's this whole other realm of outreach that we might need to do to reach, because they have completely different programs than what we do here in the city.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even different waste haulers, we might not be able
from
to.
Apartment to apartment sometimes.
Yeah. Right, and Pelletary has some things that you can recycle. For example, the coffee cups. Can some of these other
right, yeah.
Frankly, I'm not quite sure. So
can you recycle it?
Sometimes you kind of have
depends
to.
Where you live.
Right, you'd have to maybe change your messaging a little bit based on who their provider is. So that is also
So from municipality to municipality, from, you know, even within the municipality, from, you know, depending on what type of resident, you know, like that's one of the challenges with recycling. You know, but you know, like I'm kind of curious as to, well, you know, it would be nice to, you know, do like an audit on like an apartment complex and just find out like where is that truly at, you know, and then, you know, that could help guide some of, you know, maybe how we could potentially help out some of the multifamily. So we did have a surge on this for a while, probably 2015, 16, 17, 18. We were kind of really focused in on the multifamily complexes, and we haven't done as much there recently. You know, it's still been kind of an idea, you know, like we should do some more in that area, but you know, just, you know, for historical sake, we just haven't done as much there. And you know, I think we could put some more time into that. It would be nice to have a little bit more data to base on, you know, base where our efforts should be focused on with that effort.
So at some point in time, someone or the council made a decision not to include apartment complexes as, you know, part of this program, to separate them.
Yeah,
I don't know what the history of that is.
Yeah, that's part of the ordinance, but also, so the city is considered by the Department of Natural Resources a responsible unit. So any kind of municipality that is responsible for providing this service to its residents. And per the administrative code, a responsible unit such as the city of Fitchburg only has to provide this service for the single-family duplex and 4-unit and under buildings. And in fact, when we send our annual report in to the DNR each year, which just again kind of summarizes the total tonnage of recycled material, they actually just want to see it from the 4-unit and you know, the duplex and single-family homes.
Yeah, that seems weird. I mean, that's half of our residents.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just growing at, you know, an exponential rate. I mean, we're all seeing all these apartment complexes going up. We know what the affordable housing issues are, and you know,
but we're collecting property taxes from them, right?
Yeah, well, I guess that's another question then. So, like, tell us, how is the, you know, the drop-off site funded, as well as the dumpsters that are in various parks?
Yep, so that is actually all funded through this, the charge on the tax bill. So the $236 that's being proposed, that covers all of those costs as well.
So it's just the people that are have to pay their units are paying for the recycling center. It's not the large apartment complexes and things.
Correct.
Like you said, it's 50% of our population could use that and not paying for it.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that is, you know, yard waste, people that are in you know, they're not going to get to really use the yard waste or the brush.
Probably cardboard, everyone.
Cardboard, but even at a lot of these they've got big dumpsters, so they're really not using the recycling drop-off. I think really the only thing, probably, if I was in an apartment in Fitchburg, I would probably only use it for the polystyrene, because I think that's probably the only unique thing that I would have to.
That is, yeah, that's a good point. I think the you know, the amount of dumpster space that the apartment complexes provide, I think on a per unit basis is much greater than the carts that we have in single family homes. So it's primarily the single family home people who are using that drop off site, like you said.
Do the apartment complexes have separate bins for cardboard and things like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, not necessarily though. Like
If they don't, then that's where, you know, either myself or someone in code enforcement would have, you know, they are required.
Oh, they're required. Okay.
Yeah.
To have cardboard specifically.
Oh, to have a recycling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's all mixed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to separate the cardboard from the plastic, from the glass, from the metal.
But it's hard to you know, like, you know, you could be going through all kinds of cardboard and filling up that container. You know, like, you know, at the individual home level, like at least we're like, well, man, I'm going through a lot of cardboard. That means I have to make it I might be making an extra trip out to the recycling center. Like, you can make your own personal adjustments, but like, there's really no triggers for somebody maybe going overboard with, online shopping orders.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see, that brings us to our analysis sheet here. So this year charge was $232. You can see that the charge is being proposed at $236. That's again a 1.7% increase. It would require some, fund balance to be used. But again, the goal fund balance, the higher end of 15 to 25%, but generally in that range, is still at 29.1%. So still, again, trying to keep these rate increases at a point where, they're not dramatic. They're, we can eat away at the fund balance a little bit and then still avoid having to have a year where there's, a $20 increase or something. So that's kind of, again, the goal is having a, trying to limit the charge increases, but, ultimately they do have to be what they have to be per the Pelletary contract, and just eating into that fund balance a little bit is
this fund like an interest-bearing account or something like that? It keeps making money?
Yeah, that is my understanding.
And that's where that temporary interest. Yeah. So like with the high interest rates in recent years, that's why we've gotten so much extra.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I guess I'll also mention that the apartment brush charge. So yeah, there's a few apartment complexes that the city had picked up brush at many years ago, and they still do get that service. So that's a 10-cent increase being proposed in this charge here. So with that, are there any other questions?
Anybody online have any questions?
None here.
All right. So I think
Take a vote.
We'll take a vote. So under Resolution R-13325, Ben just reviewed the increase in recycling rates for 2026 at $236 per unit, and for the apartment brush going to $7.35. All those in favor of those adjusted rates, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, those rates pass. RCC. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to agenda item 4C, Resolution R-17325. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
So second. Anybody have any discussion on this one?
Mr. Ben.
Ben? Or is this
probably
Phil?
Yeah, I can take this.
House here.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll try to go quickly here. I think we're already almost 30 minutes behind. So this is a resolution to approve joining the Wisconsin Local Governments Climate Coalition. This is a group that started a couple years back, and I've been talking with Chad Brecklin about getting Fitchburg involved for a little while now. The LGCC requires that member organizations, before they join, get a resolution approved by council and submit that back to them. So you can see the gist of this. Actually, let me double check. I believe that, so I did include a supporting document that has slides with information about membership and what this organization does. But the long and short of it is that the LGCC helps member organizations navigate the various logistical and government legislative related hurdles, potential pitfalls, complexities of dealing with climate action. So it's another networking organization, an opportunity to learn from other groups. The LGCC can do some advocacy work to the state legislature in a way that municipal organizations, counties really can't effectively do on their own. In a lot of cases, shouldn't. So this would be an opportunity for us to learn from the broader organization as well as from other municipalities that are members. The slides that are in there are a little bit outdated. I think they say about a third of the state's population is represented by an LGCC organization. That's now to about 40%. In Dane County, we've got the county as a member, as well as Madison, Middleton, Sun Prairie, McFarland, Monona, Village of Shorewood Hills, and Verona just joined. So we would be in good company in the county. But yeah, this is really just about approving the city signing on to this, and then I would represent Fitchburg on LGCC matters.
All right, any questions for Phil?
There's no cost to join this, or?
There's no cost, no. No, just time. And it's about, sorry?
I was just gonna say, we will send you to various meetings. What sort of a time commitment is that for you?
It is a 1 hour monthly meeting, so 12 of those meetings a year. They're all remote. I think there are 3 or 4 in-person meetings a year, and those, you know, ideally I'd be able to join them, but certainly if it doesn't work out for my timing, this is a standard thing I run into at the Green Tier Legacy communities, is if there's an in-person meeting, you know, up in Superior, it's usually not going to work with my schedule. But things that are more local, I will work out ways to attend in person as much as possible. You know, I would say it's definitely something where it adds a little bit of time into my schedule, maybe 20 hours a year. But it also, this is one of those things where my time is paid back, I would say exponentially in terms of the resources and information sharing and kind of ideas on accelerating things that I'm looking to do anyway. I think it would pay itself back pretty substantially.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like the sound of this.
I mean, I think it's good. I mean, we have a new sustainability plan, you know, that we're trying to get implemented. We have ideas in there that we can share as a community, help our other communities, but we also have the Dane County Climate Action Plan. So, like, you know, we need to be working together with other communities, getting some of their ideas, sharing our ideas in order to progress this whole thing ahead in Dane County. So I think it is, like you said, Phil, going to be a good use of your time, and I think there'll be exponential payback for it. So this is definitely a good thing in my opinion.
And now you said this, this document, it has a date at the top of end of June of 24, so it's a little over a year old. And then it's got a couple of projects listed here that say just launched, launching soon, launching this fall. So that, those are all like 2024 dates. Are those tools now available, and are people using them and getting good results?
I believe some of these tools have been, so the local government playbooks have, there are 2 playbooks now that are out there for municipalities, one about electrifying transportation in your community, and one about greening your community's grid. So just one example, that's the 3rd item on their local government greenhouse gas reduction playbooks. So that one has already been put in motion. I believe, I'm not as positive on the ICLEI carbon emissions tracking tool, but the Efficient Buildings Municipal Support Program, I believe, also has been going on. I think that's a little bit more of an internal effort, so I haven't yet seen anything on their website about that. But I do believe member orgs are benefiting from that.
How do you see some of these ideas filtering into like the Housing Advisory Committee and the Transportation and Transit Committee?
I would say similar to anything else that I'm going to be looking to implement from the sustainability plan. It's something where, because I'm only one member and sustainability is so broad, a lot of this stuff ends up being implemented through other staff. The dream situation is where somebody else is completely on top of it, and I just don't even need to worry about it. And that's what happened with economic development and the efficiency navigators that they're working with Madison and with Elevate Energy on energy efficiency for naturally occurring affordable housing units in Fitchburg. This happened, and I didn't even realize that we had gotten started with it. So certainly I'll be looking to try and grease the wheels for more of that to happen. You know, when I get some resources and some ideas from a group like this, then where it seems like there's an opportunity internally, then I'll work with staff to kind of talk through that and how we might make it happen. I wouldn't necessarily be going directly to these other committees, but at least working with the staff that deal with them, that report to them.
Okay. Do you think some of these tools would make a good presentation for committee of the whole or specific committees and commissions?
Possibly, yeah. I think certainly for specific committees and commissions, that again is something that I would talk with staff about, whether they feel like these are things that would feel pertinent to those groups. I think it would just kind of take them as they come.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. We'll go to vote. All those in favor of Resolution R 173-25 for Fitchburg to join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. All right. Resolution R 173-25 passes. Thank you. So moving on to agenda item 4D. So just for, quickly, Diana, for your reference, we put together an annual report. We normally get it finalized at our January meeting. So we're, kind of really out early on this. What happens kind of at the end of the RCC calendar year is, when we're in October, although it doesn't feel like year end, we're pretty close to year end because we just have one meeting left in November. We don't have a December meeting. And so, this is kind of getting it out there, start to think about and bring that to the table. I think we'll have a little bit more detailed discussion on this at the next meeting in the interest of time. But, I think, Ben, maybe you've taken an initial shot at some of the annual report so far. Do you want to just kind of quickly go over that?
Yeah, so what we have here is just kind of the first draft. So again, just kind of outlining some of the events that have occurred through Green Thursday on there, knowing that it will happen. So the reduce your food waste being landfill, the recycling events, the waterway cleanup, anything that RCC had some kind of hand in. So again, what I'm kind of looking for is, as I kind of, and I'll just really quickly breeze through this, but within the next few weeks, if anyone has any thoughts of things that they would like to include or edits, you can just email me those directly, and we can get those revisions made.
You did a good job putting this together. It's pretty thorough.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You covered everything so far.
Try to.
Even the articles.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, will this document be shared with me?
Yeah, certainly.
Awesome. Okay.
This
Thank you.
would be a good thing for you to review, Diana, just to kind of see, like, these are the types of things that we work on each year. So this is really kind of our report. What things have we been working on? You're gonna see like, oh, that's really interesting to me, or there seems to be a big gap, somewhere, where I think my skill set could, maybe add to what we're doing, like potentially in the energy conservation, arena, maybe a, arena where, we could kind of take some additional actions. So, I would encourage you to just read through it and just kind of take a look at it, and feel free to bring those questions to us at the next meeting. But yeah, thanks for taking a first cut at this, Ben. I think we'll have an action item for all the commissioners to read it over and bring some other things to the table. But we should have this in a pretty close to final setting at our November meeting, and we may not officially finalize it at the next meeting, but we'll be right there ready to do it out of the gates in January if we don't get it finalized next month.
And just a PSA, this is a publicly available document, the agenda for tonight, and so this is in tonight's agenda packet.
Okay.
So for anybody watching at home, fitchburgwi.gov/agendas, and then just scroll down the page and look for the RCC meeting, and you can click on the agenda packet and scroll through to page 20, whatever, and see this.
Perfect. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to read this all word for word, but you kind of covering some of the main topics: stormwater, groundwater, solid waste, and then energy conservation. So if there's anything that you think, hey, you forgot to add this on here, or maybe this should be taken off, again, just shoot me an email. I can also send a Word document. I don't think I did. Yeah, so I'll send this out as a Word document. If people prefer to make edits that way.
Do you want to put your Word document on your OneDrive and then share it, and everybody can comment rather than everybody? Yeah, that'll be a whole lot easier for you, I would think, than getting 7 copies back.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, throw that up on the SharePoint. So yeah, I guess not to belabor this any longer, but feel free to shoot me over your suggestions.
Okay, sounds good. We'll note that as an action item.
Thank you.
And move on to agenda item 4E. So kind of in the similar vein, we have our draft 2026 RCC calendar of events as a commission. So, this is probably where we'll have, since we're in really good shape on our annual report, we'd have a little bit more of a discussion at the next meeting, with new people on the commission, at the end of this year that weren't on at the end of last year. You guys are getting a taste of, what we're doing. And so our calendar of events has a little bit more of like where are our focus areas. So we have kind of these 6 bullet areas of where we're focusing. And those, somewhat stay the same each year, but we also can adjust them kind of, where are our skill sets, where are our passions as a commission, where does our community need us to kind of step up, where are there gaps where we could be doing more in a sustainable manner within the community. And so, challenge people to really look at these ongoing yearly annual efforts, these 6 bullets, and think about where our skill sets are and where we can kind of bring the most to the table in terms of benefiting our community in the coming year. So this would be another action item to look these over, and we'll have a little bit more detailed discussion about this at the next meeting. But the other thing that we kind of use this for is it just kind of gives us a guide for what we cover at each of our meetings. And so more of the month to month is just kind of like, how do we organize? And, this is something that Ben and I look at as we put the agendas together for each of the meetings, to make sure that we're hitting on, kind of the things at the right time of the year, so that if we're having an event in May, that we're starting to talk about it in February, whatever those things might be. And we try to set up this calendar with those, reminders, so that we're having discussions at the right times to make sure that we're carrying out, events and other initiatives when they need to be carried out and over the course of the year.
So we could take off the passing of the new outdoor lighting ordinance, right?
Yeah, so you might notice I actually didn't change any of the things for focus for 2026. I wanted to just again get this kind of out so everyone had a chance to think about it, and then we could take a little bit more of a deeper dive at a future meeting and talk through some of, you know, the ongoing yearly efforts, as well as some items that we'd want to focus on for 2026. And I think there's, you know, maybe things like the organic waste and composting would stay, and you know, the supporting of a USGS gauging station on Springs Creek, and be a good thing to talk to Mike Gilbertson about too, actually. But yes, the lighting ordinance, that's always nice when you can cross one off.
Can we put that in the annual report though?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It should be. It absolutely should be. Yeah. So yeah, again, I won't read through each month specifically. A lot of stuff kind of is fairly similar. I guess maybe not a lot, but some things are. You know, we always have the waterway cleanup in April. There's always the recycling event in the spring, in the fall. So there's a few things that kind of, you know, stay fairly similar. We always discuss the MS4 annual report. We'll always look at the CIP and operating budget. So, you know, a lot of it is kind of similar to year, but certainly there's, you know, any suggestions or thoughts or topics anyone, you know, would like to add. This is, you know, we can get it on the calendar.
I think we should put a yearly report from Todd, the USGS and the Swan Creek on here. So instead of like every other year, we should probably do something every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice when they come in, it just gives us big picture.
Yeah.
When people come in and talk to us about these types of things, I think it's pretty important.
And we'll get to see Todd next month.
Next month, yeah. I see the Sunnyside solar thing is on here.
Maybe things that we might have had for 2025 ideas that we maybe didn't get through. But always gives us a good guide for the coming year. So I think we'll have kind of more of a, you know, kind of brainstorming or a strategic session and discussion at the next meeting. We'll try to set aside a little bit more time to talk about 2026, you know, areas of focus for the RCC, and try to agree on what we think those bullet points should be. And then based on that, we'll maybe make some adjustments to these month-to-month bullet points that we have.
Perfect. And just as with the annual report, this will be shared, you know, via OneDrive, so folks can make edits on it too.
Sounds good.
But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say on that one.
All right, anybody else have any other comments? All right, moving into old business. 5A, Green Thursday event planning. So Kim is in here. We do have our event coming up on November 6th. We haven't had a community outreach subcommittee meeting since our last RCC meeting, but you know, generally we're kind of hitting like the 2 to 3 week out period, and that's where we start to promote those events pretty heavily. And so I will make an action item to connect with Kim and our other, so we have a community outreach subcommittee, and so Kim and I serve on that committee with another non-RCC member, Sharon Hanrahan.
Okay, so Ryan's name is on here with Kim. Was that a typo in the agenda?
Well, there's another part of the, you know, this Green Thursday. You know, so I'm just talking about one aspect of it. He's going to give an update on another component of other event. So we'll get to that in a second, Ryan. So, you know, just in terms of we have a showing at the library, and that's going to occur on November 6th. And so we're at the time of where we need to promote that. So how commissioners can help that is within if you're on your social media pages or on Nextdoor, you can help promote, you know, with content that we'll share out with you, or your email list within your neighborhood. So we're looking to have you help out with getting the word out in your neighborhoods if you're able to or connected somehow on those, you can share information about the event, encourage people to come. But we will be sharing more information on that in the coming days or next couple of weeks as we get closer to the event. So just be on the lookout for that, and I just ask that you guys help promote as you're able to.
And is this going to be on the city's, like if we go to the city's website and you look at the community calendar, is it going to be on there?
So those are the types of things that we need to take care of as a
okay.
subcommittee. And so just found out that Kim wasn't going to be here for this, so I thought she was going to kind of give more of that update. So I'm kind of just filling in and talking about what process needs to happen over the next couple of weeks as we come up on that event. But that does include getting it up on calendars, talking to the library, seeing what they're doing in terms of promotion, making sure that we're aligned with that. If we feel like we need to get some type of incentives there, so sometimes we'll get pizza from people like Ian's Pizza, who have been great at supporting our sustainability events. We'll do some of those types of things at this stage in the game to try to bring people to that event. But this is something that we're bringing back. It's been probably a good 10 years since we've done these documentaries where we bring a group of people into the library, watch something, and then have a short discussion after that, on a topic. Just kind of fun events for people to come and share their opinions and learn.
Question.
Sure.
Do you work with schools around? How do you promote this Green Thursday event?
So I would say it's more of it tends to be more, just general Fitchburg citizens, coming to an event like this. So it's not really, although, children are encouraged to come if they have interest in the topic, it's not, necessarily going to be promoted as a family, event. We do work with the schools in other ways, more so we've been working with them on cafeteria recycling has been kind of our main gig with the schools, but that doesn't mean that there's not other opportunities to get into the schools and talk to them about other sustainability type things. So I think you bring up a good point. We should be always thinking about the schools in terms of our outreach for certain events and for our sustainability initiatives.
And then what is the goal of the event? So what do you want to promote, or what are you aiming for?
I think
I'm sorry, I cannot open the document, so that's why I was asking.
Okay. So the goal of these events is to have these every 2 to 3 months going forward. We're kind of trying to work through what the cost of getting these films is going to be and what's really going to be doable, and then it'll also depend on the attendance at the events. But the goal is to provide outreach to the community for people that want to come to the library and learn about a sustainability topic and potentially have a discussion with others and kind of deepen their understanding of a certain topic or something that interests them. So in terms of the number of people coming to the events, it's hard to say how many people will come. We would have some events where there would be just more like a handful of people, but in some of these situations we'll get up to 20 or 30 people coming to the event. So we're gonna have to kind of see how it goes and make adjustments from there. Obviously we want it to be worthwhile, so we don't want to have every event be a handful of people. So if we're not getting a lot of people, then either pick better topics, promote better, or that's kind of the adjustments that we'll need to make as we move forward.
I'm looking at the Fitchburg Star website. The community calendar does not have it on here.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll talk to.
Thank you.
Those are the things that need to happen at this stage.
But we should keep that in mind when, whenever the first Friday of the month rolls around and we've got to submit an article, we should remember to, hey, let's get our next Green Thursday out there as well.
Yeah. All right. Any other, oh, I was gonna pass it over to Ryan. I think we were talking about an potential sustainability bike tour. Do you wanna give updates on where we stand with that?
Sure. So we, as in we, I meant me and Andy Potts, Bill, and Logan Reichstad actually met at the end of last month to do some brainstorming. I think as we kind of talked about previously, the idea behind this would be to hopefully link a lot of the different commissions throughout the city and find tours that could kind of focus on areas that maybe they touch. With it also being a focus on biking or kind of walking tours. So initially, I think our first kind of idea here, and I just looked in here and we already have about 18 different ideas in our shared spreadsheet. So thank you, Bill. And if Logan's paying attention, thank Logan and Andy. So we've already got a good amount of ideas that we're working through at the moment. For an initial plan, we were discussing Dunn's Marsh, kind of doing a walk around Dunn's Marsh, especially here later in the season when you kind of getting some color changes, with I think the focus being on groundwater. And so there's been sort of sorry, is there a question there? No, okay. There's been sort of an effort here to try and find something to hook people, and one of those being education. And so Andy Potts has actually reached out to Badger Talks already and asked to see if we could bring anybody in that has a specific background in these areas to give a 30-minute talk or give a presentation. They have a lot of canned kind of presentations they can provide. And then from there, we can do a 2-mile walk around Dunn's Marsh, for instance. Specifically, he's reached out about Ken Bradbury, who works at the UW and has a background in groundwater. And I think he's waiting off to see if there's interest from him or from Badger Talk specifically there. We have couple other ideas based on their background for that one specifically. We're hoping, I think still, if we can get something here at the end of 25 to do so. Otherwise, we may be looking in early 26 for our first kind of organized event at the moment. Andy has also reached out to the Senior Center. He's talked to the Chamber, and he's talked to Bike Fitchburg. They all have their own newsletters. And so between those three, I think that it touches several thousand different people between the Chamber's newsletter, the Senior Center's newsletter, and Bike Fitchburg's newsletter. So one other idea he had actually that throw out there as well for kind of getting these out into the public, and that I think he actually previously had a pretty good outcomes from is reaching out to any kind of places of worship, church bulletins specifically. I think we're really good at getting the word out within the community as well. So if there's anybody that if that's as we get something finalized and something on the books, that might be another good area to kind of push some of these out there. So yeah, that's, I think, kind of the rundown of what we've got so far. If there's any questions.
I'll just say that whatever communications channels we figure out for this and for Green Thursdays, we should be following the same playbook. And
yeah, so I mean, we have like a marketing plan for events, so like we don't have to brainstorm too much. I mean, I'm always looking to add to it if we have other ideas. Like the church bulletins is, a different idea, but we do have like a marketing plan that we follow and run through before each event. So we do have like a playbook that we follow. I think, one of the things might be, having a discussion with Kim to see, like, how do we structure the community outreach subcommittee, with me taking over as the chair, and having, my former role as the chair of the community outreach subcommittee. So organizing those, continuing to be the, kind of the driving force on that, might be getting spread a little bit thin myself. And so like maybe we talk about like how we can, restructure that and kind of pass, kind of the lead duties, off. Maybe it's, Kim and Ryan are co-chairs of that. Could be a possibility. So just, kind of coming up with ideas on how we can, kind of pass the reins on that and me not be dropping the ball on things.
Yeah, and I think again, in my conversations from Andy's perspective, obviously he's serving on Bike and Ped, and his, I think that's where we're going to run into that is that RCC may have, right, our approach to publicity and getting outreach, but I think that Bike and Ped might have different approaches than what we're doing with that. So I can kind of coordinate that on our end too, and try and figure out if there's, if you don't feel comfortable going that route, that however Bike and Ped do it, or because again, if there's other commissions that are going to be involved as well, they're going to be do community outreach. We're going to have to kind of figure out if they have a different group of people they're kind of focusing on as well. And that's, I think, one of the pieces with the senior center that got brought up as well is that, these are, I think they said largely the number of individuals is, 55 plus. So there's a lot of individuals there that are going to be wanting to do a bike ride as well. So it gives a nice broad range of individuals that, at least from Andy's perspective, that's how they've been able to, I think, in the past. And I think he's still trying to coordinate with the individual that I think put one together several years ago. I forget the name now that he's been trying to touch base with, but somebody that had previously kind of organized something similar to this.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know if it was predecessor.
Tony Hartman or Steve Arnold, maybe.
Yeah,
one of those two. But yeah, I mean, I think, there are different angles that each group can bring to the table. Like they have, individual networks of people that they can reach out to, whether it's an email list or whatnot, is, a little bit different audience. We have tried to collect information, at some of our past events. How did they hear about our event that we had? And, sometimes we'll find that the senior center, is a very good point, so we make flyers and post those. So that's part of our marketing strategy. We get into the green e-newsletter. We also use the city of Fitchburg's social media, and then we're doing kind of individual, networking out in, neighborhood groups that we're a part of. So, those are kind of our primary strategies that we have used in the past. But, there's always new tactics that can be used to reach out to people. So I think we're definitely open to making adjustments, but I want you to know that we have like a pace that we can start with, and then we can just more so not reinvent the wheel, but like more so use that as, kind of our base game plan and, add to it depending on the event.
Cool. Yeah, and I will, again, continue to work with Andy to kind of get that. He's still waiting off on, I think, on a response from Badger Talks to see if there is interest here still this year, and kind of setting that up as well of, can we coordinate an educational component to along with, because if we're bringing people out to, Duns Marsh, it'd be nice to have somebody talk about, why is it important to have this here in the city, and what is it doing, for groundwater. And I think that's where Badger Talks, and I think Andy's mentioned that they're usually really good. I actually saw our former commissioner has his name's in there as one of the potential speakers on. Jim is one of those on, and
okay.
Yeah, members of Badger Talks as well. So
okay,
that's what I've got at the moment.
Sounds good. We have done a couple of groundwater quality programs before. It's been a little bit of time since our last one. I don't even know when it was.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I think we had one on kind of the PFAS and groundwater.
Yeah.
So, it is a topic that we hit, and it's an important topic to keep hitting. So, we'll definitely take that into consideration. I think, my next step will be to organize a meeting, Ryan, just so you can kind of, connect into the community outreach subcommittee, which would be with Kim and myself and Sharon, and then we can kind of talk over a game plan to support you and show you some of the tools that we have, in addition to that. So I think that'll be, something that I'll reach out to you on.
Okay, no, that sounds good.
Excellent. All right, anything else on that? Any other questions anybody has?
Time update, we are 10 minutes behind.
Okay. Gonna keep moving then. So moving on to agenda item 5B, 2025 fall recycling event recap. Ben?
Yes, so you can see on the screen here is just the chart of the totals for paper and electronics for all of the years going back to 2017. So the folks that were at the event know that it was a little bit slower. Actually wasn't our least paper tonnage, which I kind of thought it was going to be, but actually collected less paper in fall of 2023. It does seem like there is kind of a trend that fall is kind of the slower month, at least from, or the slower time period, at least from the paper perspective. Electronics was a little bit down as well compared to last year. It was about 6,300 pounds. It was about 4,600 pounds of paper. So yeah, you'd like to have a little bit more people and kind of be, closer to the 10,000 range or so with the electronics. We'll see. I think from a advertising perspective, really didn't do anything differently this year. Kept it the same, but maybe with these reduced numbers, we can kind of add some more time and effort to the advertising for spring. Can't hurt. But all that said, there was a pretty constant stream of cars at electronics. It wasn't like people were standing around doing nothing. There was always a car up there to unload. Might have been a little slower at the paper, but it was still 4,600 pounds. So, not a bad turnout, I would say. Didn't really have any changes this year. Setup was the same vendors. I think everything went smoothly, I think. I was kind of down by the electronics end for most of it. Things were good down there. Anyone that maybe was up by paper you had a different experience.
It was slow.
It was slow, yeah.
Compared to previous years. But I was surprised when I looked at numbers. 46.
Yeah.
I don't remember 2023 fall being that slow, but it was even slower.
But yeah, it's hard to predict. I mean, it kind of goes up and down. It seems like the spring is definitely busy. So there's definitely a correlation to people have time in the winter and they go through their papers and
get holding for springtime.
Yeah. So I think we should just definitely plan on spring being busier. That's just the way it's been. But yeah, I mean, people, I see a lot of old products go through, the electronics line, and so maybe, it's starting to we've had these events consistently, spring and fall, and there's other opportunities to get rid of things too, and people do some of this on their own. So maybe some of that, electronics in general are getting smaller. All those things kind of maybe factor into why that weight continues to go down, but it is still important to keep it out of the landfill if we can. So I think it's still a nice opportunity to have it. I don't think it's dropped down to a point where we shouldn't have the event, but
no, and I mean, I think it seems to be a very popular and well received. Tons of people, will say, "Oh, thanks for doing this," and so it's definitely is an event that people here seem to really enjoy.
Absolutely.
I have a question. It could be, sorry. Is that okay if I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'm thinking about the winter time and I'm thinking about Christmas for some reason. And why is it that we cannot Why is it that we don't do these events during the winter season? I'm sorry, maybe it's a dumb question, but I was just like curious about that.
Well, so in the winter, we do set up a holiday string light collection bin in City Hall, and that gets used pretty thoroughly. I should look back at how many pounds of lights that we've gotten from the past, but it's hundreds of pounds of string lights. Honestly, I think the main reason it hasn't been in the winter because it's cold. The weather can be.
So we do this. Yeah. We do the event outdoors, and so Pelletieri brings a shred truck, and there are several people just staffed outside the truck as people drive up unloading papers from their trunk. So it's about weather. Do it in the spring and fall.
Nice.
A good question, but sorry, we didn't give you the full overview of the event either.
Yeah.
The holidays, you get a lot of packaging, but I don't know that there's a lot of sensitive papers that needed to be shredded that are holiday seasonal like that. I suppose there's plenty of new electronic gadgets that people get, and they may want to jettison their old ones at that time.
That's a possibility,
The paper shredding, a lot of it's, a lot of sensitive data that people have, tax forms.
That's all.
Things like that. It's not like your regular newspaper.
We pay by the ton.
Yeah, it's not like regular papers and things, so.
Yeah.
We do on our website also provide information. So if you go to the Shred Recycling event page on our website, there's information for what you can do if you've got something you need to deal with and it's not spring or fall, it's not coming up on one of those events. So there are resources provided there as well, including information. I don't know if this is on the Shred Recycling page, but certainly our website has information on recycling options if you've got more than will fit in your curbside bin.
Thank you.
Very good. So moving on to agenda item 6, council update, Bill.
Yeah, a couple of city administration sort of things. The Community Equity Committee is now a permanent committee, so they will look at various resolutions and ordinances through an equity lens. I don't know if that'll cross paths with RCC very often, but I think that'll be good for the city. The ordinance change that we reviewed went through council and passed. The draft budget has been released and amendments are due this Thursday. So if you have anything, let me know that, if you think you want to shake something up. So that's available if you go to fitchburgwi.gov and then you go to government and then the finance department, you'll be able to find it there. Development related stuff, the Efficiency Navigator Phase 2 went through council and got approved, so they're going to replace 162 windows on 8 different properties. So that's part of the Phil mentioned earlier about the NOAA, the naturally occurring affordable housing. So these upgrades will be very welcome for the folks who live there. Bowman Plaza is set to break ground sometime next spring, so that'll be Fitchburg's tallest building at all of 7 whole stories. In early September, the new PD facility had a groundbreaking ceremony. And both the South Stoner Prairie Plan and the Greenfield Neighborhood Plans passed through council. Parks and forestry related stuff, the new McGaw pickleball court ribbon cutting happened. And tomorrow night we'll be voting on whether we're going to provide lighting on those courts. The Tower Hill Park Shelter should be finished, cross your fingers, the end of this month. And the last of the city-owned and managed ash trees have been replaced. And in their place is something like 14 different species, so we're Anna's doing an excellent job of trying to not put all of our eggs into a single basket here. If you've been through the Capital City Trail heading east out of the city, you'll notice that the parking lot over by the Sain McCoy intersection has been resurfaced. The path has been rerouted. The traffic signals are there, they are not yet operational, but that's the last piece of Cyan Road to open up. Everything else is opened up, you know, from the south all the way up to West Clayton Road. So November 3rd is the date, and I think they were thinking that maybe it might happen a little sooner than that. I guess we'll find out for sure, but it's nearing completion. And then Fitchburg Road, property acquisition is now able to commence because the transportation project plat was approved by council. So properties along Fitchburg Road that are going to be impacted by the reconstruction there, mainly the traffic circle that's going to go in at Lacey and Fitchburg Road. That is the end of my update.
All right.
Short and sweet.
Thank you, Bill. Moving on to staff and commissioner updates. So we'll start with solid waste. Ben?
All right, big one for solid waste is we've got our food scrap stop location start date. So it's gonna be at the Swan Creek Park Shelter to start. So
yeah,
that's close to you. There was a decent, it was, you know, there's decent proximity to several condos and apartment complexes, and it's, you know, somewhat of one of the major, you know, it's not McGaw or McKee, but it's one of the major parks, trails right past it. There's the shelter where we can put signage and information up. So that's what we're going with.
And it'll be near, but not so near that people don't want to use the shelter anymore because of the smell.
No. That's something that I'm sure will get brought up. You know, and my response to that is there's already about a half dozen garbage cans there. So I think, you know, there's already a bunch of trash there. Okay. So hopefully it doesn't really cause any issues in that way.
Certainly not October through
no,
April.
Actually, yeah, right. We'll be good for when it starts.
Yeah.
So there's about to be a landslide of promotional material coming out on that. There is going to be kind of a pre-launch event, October 27th. They're going to bring the carts over in the afternoon, and then we'll just be kind of out there at 3 to 5 p.m. or so. It's Monday.
Right.
You know.
I don't feel like I should be there.
To bring your food scraps over.
I live in Swan Creek and I've been pushing this, so should be there.
Try to have it a little bit later in the day. Hope maybe there'll be some folks off work or kind of walk around at that time. But we'll be promoting them pretty heavily. So that's kind of the main one, and then just some renewing some licenses. So our solid waste transportation license, we renewed that, and then as well as our composting license has been renewed through 2026. Move on to stormwater here. We're going to be opening bids this week on Thursday for our 2025 stormwater utility facility maintenance project. It's going to be dredging Quarry Hill Pond and remediation of the Techlands infiltration basin. That's just north of Nobel. It's a failed infiltration basin, so we'll be looking to get those two ponds in better shape. That's going to be done. We're going to give the contractor a pretty big window to do it over the winter. Trying to do it in the winter, you know, to not interfere with nesting birds and less precipitation. We've also got we're doing a frog and turtle survey this week out there, just because in the winter I know a lot of the amphibians will kind of burrow in the end, and it would be not a good time for the frogs. We're going to get a bunch of those moved over to some other city facilities before we start that. But yeah, like I said, bids will be coming back this week. So we'll see how that.
For the dredging of the ponds, do you do the DNR permitting for that, or do we have to do permits?
So there's NR 528 kind of lists out the different criteria as far as when a permit is needed, if there's any kind of sampling of the sediment needed. You don't actually need a traditional notice of intent to disturb these stormwater ponds. And these ones aren't online, so it's not like, you know, the McKee Farms Park or I'll just say the McKee Farms Park ponds where they're in line with a navigable waterway. So, you know, that might be a different story, but these ones, you know, they're not connected to any navigable waterway. So you actually don't need a DNR NOI to dredge the sediment from a pond. You do have to fill out, you know, some forms, and you have to keep them and keep track of where the sediment is getting transported to.
That was my next question. What happens to the dredge spoils?
So
do we reuse them, or
that's going to be left up to the contractor. This time, that's actually something that I've been working on, is trying to find kind of beneficial reuse potentially for the sediments. Probably land applied to a farm as like a soil amendment.
Right.
But just for the sake of time, we're not gonna do that one this year. And there's not really well, we didn't test it either, so we didn't do any. If it's in a residential area, there's no sediment testing required, as long as there hasn't been any reports of like hazardous spills or any known contamination. But certainly, if we were going to be giving it away to apply on someone's land, we would definitely test it, make those tests available to whoever would want it.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not doing that this year. So moving the Goose Lake Fitchburg Road project forward. It's been a little bit slow going with getting some revised modeling done and getting a little bit more of a better idea of what's actually happening out there. So we did find with this updated modeling that you know, there might be a pretty significant benefit to improving the conveyance from Goose Lake to the Dane County wetlands without having to even you know, make any connection necessarily between the Dane County wetlands and Badger Milk Creek. So we are kind of focusing on, you know, what would make sense for the new outlet from Goose Lake. You know, we want to maintain the existing lake water level, but essentially just let the water get into the wetlands a little bit faster than it does now, to try to keep the water off the Fitchburg Road pavement.
And we have some sort of a cost sharing agreement with the town of Verona.
Town of Verona is paying for 25%.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And that's just based on watershed area, basically. So, yeah. Also continuing to work on the Yarmouth Green Bay Stream Bank stabilization project. Still planning to have that work completed next year. I got a couple RFPs, so we'll have another multi-year vegetation management contract for stormwater utility property. Again, with the goal of promoting the native vegetation, reducing the invasive species, and so forth. And then we're also looking to release an RFP for some storm sewer televising. So we've got some streets that will be resurfacing next year and just want to get a little televising done, make sure there's no storm sewer that we should be replacing while the street's being reconstructed. And then there's some other older lines in the city that you know, that are over 50 years old, haven't been televised. We want to start kind of getting a little bit of information on some of these older lines, just to help us with planning projects better, and you know, be more.
Do you have any idea what to expect from that?
Beautiful looking pipe.
Okay. Well,
hopefully.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
We'll see.
I don't know what you.
We'll see. I mean,
I don't know what you realistically expect to see.
Maybe some kind of maybe a couple cracks here and there. Maybe some joints that aren't quite connected the way they should be. But we'll see. I mean, maybe it might be totally fine.
What are those lines made of? Are they?
They're all concrete.
Concrete. Okay, so.
Concrete.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see communications conduit bored right through one. I mean, that could happen, you know, so we'll see.
Tree roots ever do any damage?
What's that?
Tree roots ever do any damage?
Oh, yeah.
They could. Don't see that as often, just because usually the storm sewer is far enough into the road. Yeah. But oh yeah, that certainly they can move some things underground. And let's see, we're kind of working with the GIS department on a new kind of work order application, not just street sweeping, but general kind of work orders, just to kind of better track what staff is you know, getting done in the field and how long it takes to do things.
Is there Lacey Road? If you bicycle a lot, the gravel, it's a big gravel route for the gravel trucks. How frequently do those sweepers get there? Because lately it's just been all this fine gravel on the road.
Yeah, the goal is to get, I mean, each street once a month, but what we're hoping to get.
I mean, this is a real busy corridor, so it's got a lot of gravel trucks. So once a month doesn't cut it for that road.
That's what I'm thinking we're really gonna find. So with the street sweeping, we'll have the operators, once we've got the city kind of divided into small routes, basically, and we'll have them put in, you know, what was the total estimated volume that you collected from this route. And then we can look back and say, oh, you know, why are we sweeping this street once every 4 weeks? There's nothing that it picks up, whereas, you know, we have this other street where it's, you know, and that might be your Lacey Road or, you know, another area that, okay, well, we could probably do this every other week. So that's one thing that we're hoping to really kind of learn from this too.
It's not all of Lacey Road, it's just that stretch between Seminole and Fish Hatchery that the trucks go up and down.
And that's an interesting point. So like the street sweeper collects everything that, it doesn't push anything off to the side, which, you know, for something like gravel and fine gravel along Lacey Road, would we have the option of just pushing that back off to the side of the road? Rather than, you know, essentially dumping gravel in a landfill?
Using like a broom,
yeah,
more of, possibly. You know, I just kind of worry about it migrating back into the, well, I guess on Lacey, it's not, the section we're talking about, there's no curb and gutter. Maybe a little bit, you know,
I don't know, I feel like if there's a lot of gravel making its way onto the road because the truck's coming in and out, we're just sweeping that up and dumping the gravel in the landfill, and that's not really, you know, gravel itself isn't harmful, like, you know, some of the street sweepings that you get in urban areas.
If you had a clean enough load in the street sweeper, maybe they could dump it and reuse it, but I think part of it is it gets, you know, you dump out the street sweeper and it's all sorts of stuff in there. Right. It gets all kind of commingled. All right. Oh, I'll just mention this last one. There's a culvert head wall at McKee Farms Park that we're looking to get replaced in 2026. So we're kind of reviewing some information on the existing conditions. That could end up being a bigger project than what it might initially sound like. So we'll probably be hearing more about that as we move forward. That's really all I got for stormwater.
All right. Bill, with sustainability.
Yeah. Final update on B-Cycle. It is actually officially done now. Last month it was everything but the paperwork. Now the paperwork is done too. So check, reimbursement, everything is completed. Last week the Fitchburg Chamber hosted a kind of a comprehensive biking celebration. It was primarily celebrating the 5th year of Bike the Berg that they've been launching with some assistance from Fitchburg Family Pharmacy and some other local orgs. They also called out some substantial work that Bike Fitchburg has done around the city. We're now up to 31 bike-friendly businesses in Fitchburg, which is the most of any city in the Midwest and 5th in the nation. It's pretty impressive. A lot of hard work from Mark Hamilton and Steve Arnold to really push businesses to apply for that and help them out with a lot of the logistics. And then they also called out the B-Cycle program and had rep from B-Cycle there handing out some literature as well. So still hoping to spread some more information and get people out on bikes, on the e-bikes. The bike and pedestrian plan, Bill mentioned that the equity committee is now formally a committee of the city. The bicycle and pedestrian plan, the mayor would like to have referred to the equity committee, so we're kind of waiting on that to be referred out until the equity committee starts scheduling and having some meetings. So hoping that still this calendar year we'll get that bike and pedestrian plan finished. And wait to see what the scheduling looks like. I think I mentioned in a previous meeting the Charge Up Dane County program. So Dane County received a federal grant to expand EV charging around our network in the county. I did last month apply for Fitchburg to host a station at McKee Farms Park in the parking lot there. Have not gotten an update yet, so I'm hoping that will be approved there, but I'm not sure how many applicants they got and what types, what locations, so we'll see there. I don't remember if I mentioned this, we got our first EV checks a couple months ago. So we have 9 electric and 1 plug-in hybrid vehicle in the city's fleet, and we submitted rebate forms for all 10 of those. So we have 8 more that we're still hoping to receive, and hope to have some good news on those in the coming months. Another transportation item, I'll be going to the CARP-C Fall Forum this Friday to learn a little bit more about municipalities and transportation. Finally, looking to start updating our processes, ordinances, not sure what yet, on natural lawns and native landscaping. This is something that I know has been a conversation for several years, and it kind of keeps getting backburnered. Finally have some time freed up to work on it. So this week I'm going to chat with some of our neighbors about what they're doing. And we've got Madison updated their ordinances to make it a little bit clearer what restrictions are like and what the allowances are for landscaping. They went a little bit different route in Sun Prairie, where they simply create an application on OpenGov, so we could kind of go either one of those routes. Right now, our ordinances say if you want to do a native lawn, if you want to do native landscaping, you need to apply with the building inspection department, but we've never actually had an application available, so I've got a number of questions about that. So we got to decide, do we want to create an application process? That's something that has to be internally monitored, and we're looking at compliance, kind of keeping track with who is participating and applying, or do we just want to update our ordinances and make it a little bit more of a standardized process without needing the internal paperwork of application? So we'll see what direction we decide we're going to go there. And then finally, last month we talked about that zoning update that included a revision of Fitchburg's solar ordinances. With that update to our solar ordinances, we should be on track now from bronze up to gold as a SolarSmart community. I've reached out to our SolarSmart contacts, have not yet heard back yet, so waiting to find out if we have a new contact or if they're just a little bit bogged down. But I'm hoping that soon I'll be able to start the process of updating our SolarSmart designation. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Any activities being conducted by other commissioners that they want to share at this time?
I don't know if you guys get the New York Times or read it, but either Saturday, Sunday's issue, they do 36 hours wherever and around the world in cities and stuff. So this time was 36 hours in Madison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we made the New York Times, but one of the things that stood out is the bicycling. Now, this is one of the top areas in the country for cycling, for people to get around on. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it was interesting to read the readers' comments, because you can comment what the article, and people talked about, all the biking great opportunities around here. So I thought that was pretty good. As long as other restaurants like my wife haven't been to or heard of. So it's like, oh, okay, we got to try these out.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty well-written article of what to do in Madison.
Do you know if anybody has like a gift link to that article?
I'll gift it out.
Awesome.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I gifted it out to all my friends. So if anyone's interested, I'll gift it.
Yeah, no, I'd be definitely interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good. I will give a quick update on cafeteria recycling in the Madison School District. So this started as the RCC project in 2015. We started doing outreach in the Madison schools to students to learn about composting, recycling, and trash and landfills, just understanding all those different components of our waste stream. And we decided to start doing cafeteria recycling and led an effort at Aldo Leopold Elementary School, which is the largest in the Madison School District. So that started in 2018. We got it really humming in 2019, and then COVID hit. So we were slowed down a little bit, but the goal was to expand that to the entire Madison School District. They hired a sustainability coordinator last year. We had a lot of meetings with them in the spring semester and asked them to pursue a grant with the Carton Council. Carton Council funded that grant, and that is supposed to get them to getting carton recycling in all of the Madison elementary schools now. So
Excellent. Wow, that's pretty good.
So I don't know that it's fully there yet, but like it's definitely been working its way there. The other component we've been working on with them still is the policy for the Madison School District, that this is policy to kind of hold staff accountable to making it happen, and that is in kind of the final stages. So like it's still gonna have to go through some approvals, but we've definitely, so I helped to draft the policy for the Madison School District.
Awesome, great, yeah.
So
wow.
It has made it full circle, like it's almost accomplished. So
Yeah.
like we're not to the celebration point yet, but good things have definitely happened on that front.
Good.
Who's going to enforce this policy?
Well, that's why you have a policy. Everybody, like at the principals and staff will then have something to fall back on.
Right.
Yeah, that is great.
Anything else?
That's interesting.
No.
Do you have numbers?
Are you also working with the Verona School District? Sorry.
So the other districts that I've worked with kind of in conjunction with Sustained Dane has been the Verona School District, Middleton School District, and Sun Prairie School Districts. So pretty much all of the school districts have been touched.
We haven't done Oregon, have we? Which is the other one in Fitchburg.
I haven't done Oregon.
Yeah.
So.
Half the kids from Fitchburg go to Oregon, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been focused on Madison.
Yes.
Yeah.
Madison's been the focal point with a number of students. So as this gets accomplished, the Carton Council funding has also kind of like dried up for like smaller groups like Sustained Dane to do it. So now it's like they go directly to the districts.
Okay.
But we're still trying to make those connections. But try to get Madison settled first, and then we'll look at other opportunities in Dane County.
Right.
What sort of mass of cartons comes out of a school like Leopold on an annual basis?
It's in the millions. We've done some graphics that you could what we've been able to save is enough cartons. I think to date this is as of a couple, maybe last April. I think April of 24 actually, but it was we had already recycled enough cartons through the program to stack them all the way to the moon.
Wow, nice. So did you do that?
They wouldn't balance for some reason. But yeah, it's a significant amount that has happened, but it's also kind of the outreach, the students feeling empowered and taking this message of conservation, recycling, that the products we make, and if there's an opportunity to recycle them, let's try to do that. But taking that out and just kind of spreading that message beyond just the carton recycling in the cafeterias that we're doing at the schools. So that's become kind of the true goal of why we're starting with these seeds in the elementary school students. All right. Well, we better adjourn quick before everything shuts down here on us. I don't think there's anything else. Anybody have any other announcements?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I used to be a teacher over in West High School. So I'm thinking about High School has a green team that is led by some staff members. So I'm thinking about Leopold Elementary, and I don't know if they do have that in the school.
Leopold Elementary have the carbon recycling?
Or the green team?
Like a green team, like a green team of
No,
students
you're making a good
led
point.
by staff.
So I think that's one of the next steps. Your staff will change, but you need you need these green teams, I think, in the schools as kind of the keepers of these programs and expanding them and making them bigger and better, and that should be student led. And so that's, the sustainability person within the district was kind of the first, but like the other idea to sustain this was not like put it on any staff person, because those staff people will change, whether it's custodian or principal or whatnot, but like there really should be green teams in the schools. And so that's kind of where I'd like the sustainability person to take it next. So we're continuing to have conversations. We're kind of focusing on the highest priorities first, and we'll get to that eventually, but that is a very good idea. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, I think we can go ahead and adjourn.
Actually,
Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I got article for November. I think it's me.
Okay.
And I think it had been mentioned previously. Can somebody pass along the template or the instructions for that? I think there was. Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
And then also deadline and everything. I guess I'm unaware of that and who I send them to and how that all.
What's your third?
Is that all in the?
We'll get you squared away.
We'll get you squared away.
Perfect. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for joining us, Diana.
Yeah, appreciate the questions. Hopefully you got something out of it.
Yeah.
And we look forward to you being a commissioner next month.
Thank you. That sounds great. Are you guys going to be tomorrow there? Or it's just going to be me?
I mean, I'll be there because I'm on council.
Okay.
Not in council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just Bill will be there.
Bill will be there.
Everybody else is too lazy to show up.
Yeah. Or we watch it on TV.
There you go.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They'll be with you.
I feel better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.